Yakto yam achintyo yam avikaryo yamuchyate tasmad evam vidit fainam Manu shochitumarhasi.
Translation: It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Tatachainam nityajatam nityam va manyasemritam tatapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitamarhasi.
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
Tatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janmamritasya cha tasmad aparharyarte natvam shochitamarhasi.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Avyakta dini bhutani avyakta madhyani bharata avyakta netayanyeva tatra ka paridevana.
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So, what need is there for lamentation?
Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidinam ascharyavat vadati tateva chanyaha ascharyavat devati Strutva pyenam vedana chaiva kaschit.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Tehi nityam avadyoyam tehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitamarhasi.
O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Svadharmamapi cha vekshya navikampi tamarhasi dharmyadi yudatrayonya shatariyasya na vidyate.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Yajityachopapanam svargadvaram apavritam sukinaha shatariyaha parta labante yudam idvisham.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Atachetvam imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi tataha swadharmam kiritim cha hitva papam abhapsyasi.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Bayadran, sorry. Akaritam chapi bhutani kata yashyanti te vayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranad atrichayate.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Bayadranadu uparatam mamsyante tvam maharataha ishamcha tvam bahumato bhutva yasya silagavam.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
अवाच्यवादंश्च बाहुन् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निदन्तस्तव सम्मर्त्यं ततो दुःखातरं नुकिम्.
Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
हातो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा वा भक्ष्यसे महिम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युधय निश्चयः.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
सुखादुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभो जयाजयो ततो 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 युधाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापम् अवाप्स्यसि.
Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
एषे ते विहिताशङ्क्ये बुद्धिर्योगे तव इमं शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहस्यसि.
Thus far I have described the knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Parth, what you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
नहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यव्यो न विद्यते स्व अल्पम् अप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from most dangerous type of fear.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिर् एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखयन्तश्च बुधयो व्यवसायिनः.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kauravas, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many branched.
यम् इमं पुष्पितं वाचं प्रवदन्ति अविप्शितः वैरवादरतः पार्था नान्यद् अस्तीतिवादिनः कामा कामात्मानः स्वर्गपारा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदं क्रियाविशेषबहुलं भोगैश्वर्य गतिं प्रति.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
भोगैश्वर्य प्रसादकानं पर्यपर्तचेतसां व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समोदो न विधीयते.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
त्रैगुण्य विषया वेद निश्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्तो Niryogakshema Atmavan.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to those three modes. Be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Yavan Artha Udapane Sarvataha Plutodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanataha.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
Karmani Evadikadaste Mafaleshu Kadachana Ma Karma Falake Turbur Mate Sangu Stva Karmani.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Yogastaha Kurun Karmani Sangam Tyaktva Dhananjaya Siddhi Asiddhyo Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate.
Perform your duty, equipoised or equipoised. O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Text 49.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Text 48.
I think we're needing till text 48.
Okay, fine. So we're reading up to text 48 only?
Yes, Prabhu. So this
Okay.
chapter 2 is being divided into three parts, being a long chapter. So the second part is 24 to 48. Sorry, 25 to 48.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Mataji,
Thank you.
Falguni Mataji, and Yash. Thank you very much. Very encouraging.
Thank
Please
you,
keep
Prabhuji.
coming and reading.
Okay.
Beautiful recitations. Okay. So today we are reading verse 26. So we'll just recite this verse again. Just change the look of the verses. Bhagavad Gita 2:26. Atha cha enam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam. Ath chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam. Tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam shochitam arhasi. Tathapi tvam mahabaho nainam sochitum arhasi. If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty armed. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. There is always a class of philosophers, almost akin to the Buddhists, who do not believe in the separate existence of the soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed and they were known as Lokayatikas and Vaibhashikas. Such philosophers maintain that life symptoms take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and materialist philosophers also think similarly. According to them, body is a combination of physical elements, and at a certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of the physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo-religions now becoming fashionable in America are also adhering to this philosophy, as are the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects. Even if Arjun did not believe in the existence of the soul, as in the Vaibhashik philosophy, there would still have been no cause for lamentation. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stops discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, the modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vibhashika philosophy, the so-called soul or Atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So, in any case, whether Arjun accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul or he did not believe in the existence of the soul, had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such incidents. If there were no rebirth for the soul, Arjun had no reason to be afraid of being affected by sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjun as Mahabahu, or mighty armed, because he at least did not accept the theory of the Vibhashikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As a Kshatriya, Arjun belonged to the Vedic culture, and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles. Going back on the translation once more, however, if you think that soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no reasons to lament, O mighty armed. Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So we are at a point of Bhagavad Gita where Arjun, who is the main hero, of course, Lord Krishna is the main hero, However, Krishna is wanting to glorify his dearmost devotee Arjun, who is the main hero of this Mahabharata warfare, has denied to fight. He's saying that I cannot hold this bow and arrow anymore. His mouth is drying and he's trembling. Why is he behaving like that? And towards the climax of these symptoms are manifesting that he declares openly, Krishna, I cannot fight. And at some point in time, he's surrendering to Krishna now, realizing that he cannot maintain his composure and neither can he maintain a relationship of friendship anymore. He's in need of guidance, and here is a person that I can surrender to. And so he's asking Krishna, please guide me. So in series of these verses, the previous verses to this and the verses which are coming forward, they are all describing something what Krishna has said is a soul, which has no relationship with the matter, which is separate from matter. And that's a revelation in itself, because this is the most powerful illusion of the material world, that you cannot see soul. Soul is invisible. Soul is beyond perception. The only way you can perceive soul is through the symptoms of the soul, which is what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned in this translation, saying that soul, and he has put in bracket, symptom of life. So when the body is dead, soul is out. Therefore, the body is dead. And when the soul is in, at the time of birth, after Garbhodan Sanskar, then the body is alive. So it's the soul. The soul is present in everything that is moving, has consciousness, from trees to the most advanced, which is the human beings. So Krishna is revealing a truth which is a complete secret. Complete secret. Imagine a situation where Bhagavad Gita is not present. Imagine a situation where nobody knows what is soul. Imagine a country or a globe or a planet where no one knows anything about beyond the body and perceptions of the material life. So that is what is the life pre-Bhagavad Gita. And the life after Bhagavad Gita is that there is knowledge of soul, which is the most powerful knowledge. Because this knowledge, even though we continue to read 100 times, it's very rare that one is able to realize this and live at the platform of soul. Because most of the time, people are tending to live at the platform of matter, because the reason being that everywhere we just see matter. Not only that, we are now embodied or embedded into the matter. And that matter has sign of life. It grows, you can feel symptoms, you can taste, you can see, you can touch, hear, hunger, thirst, air, all kinds of movements within the body are happening. Heart is pumping the blood, so it feels like all real. It feels like living, which it is, but until the time that the soul is present in the body. Now, these scriptures, from Vedic literature to all the Upanishads and the Gita, is describing that you are not the soul. It's hard to believe. It's beyond the measurable practical science. And therefore, the science tends to conclude that this body comes from the combination of matter and chemicals. At some point in time, by luck, by chance, everything converts into life, which is a presumption which also cannot be proved. But because the materialistic mentality cannot think beyond this point, because they cannot perceive. There is no way you can get to the point of knowing the factual information about soul unless it is told to us by God himself. Because he is the creator, he knows what he has done. If somebody has created a robotics, he would know the entire science of that robotic. We wouldn't know. For example, if a child now comes and says, how is this? How is it that internet works? How is it that I'm getting all the information on the computer? How is it that I press a button on computer and somehow there's a wireless printer, a page is printed out of the printer? How is it all happening? He would think it just happens. You press here, the printout is there. But the scientist who has developed it, he can tell how the waves are interacting. They're going to the network through satellite, they're communicating back to another device, and how it's all getting translated and getting printed. It's just amazing, because this is also ethereal science, material ethereal science. You're doing something here on the software, and you see a mechanical device moving about. You can see all the CCTV cameras these days. You can have a vision of your house from a distant country, and you can rotate your camera. And you can get a complete view, 360-degree view from your camera, from your mobile phone. So something subtle is controlling something which is gross. And this is what is happening with our bodies. Something very, 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 very subtle. 1 by 10,000 part of the tip of the hair. Upanishads are telling us that is controlling the movement of the whole body of an elephant and even of an ant. So this is a revelation that Krishna is giving here. That even if you don't think that there is a separate body and soul, so a body is born and body is dead. If you imagine that, then also, why should you not kill your aggressors? Why should you not kill those who are following adharma? Why should you not do your occupational duty? And that's the argument that Krishna is building up. Now, in chapter 1, verse 36, we understood, and we have been discussing at length, that why Krishna is saying to him that you must definitely kill these people, because all of them are nobody but aggressors, atatais. These are all atatais, atatainaha. Kill those 6 aggressors. Anybody who is giving you poison, which they give to Bhima, sets the fire to the house, which they did to all the Pandavas and Kunti Maharani herself, attacks with deadly weapons, which they did all the time, plunder their riches. They played gamble and tried to plunder the riches through unlawful ways, through the help of Shakuni and his tricks of cheating them. And one who occupies another's land. So they were sitting on Indraprastha. Dhritarashtra was ruling the country on behalf of the fathers of Pandavas. And now scrupulous Duryodhan has occupied their land and was not willing to give them a tip of a pin, equivalent of the land. And one who kidnaps a wife. These guys were openly trying to disrobe Draupadi and take away her respect in the royal assembly. So these aggressors, Krishna is saying that you cannot apply your compassion to them. Try to understand that they are all souls. And what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? You're afraid of you doing sin? So, and you will go to hellish planets? Now, in chapter 26 of Canto 5, Sukdev Goswami has elaborately explained the hellish planets. And one of the points he has maintained there is that those who are Kshatriyas, if they do not perform their duties of fighting, of preventing the dharma, they will be sent to a particular hellish planet. You see? So here Krishna is trying to save Krishna is trying to say Arjun. So I just want to run through some of the descriptions of these hellish planets. We should definitely know about them. And being fearful of the hellish planets, in today's day and age, it's not there, because people don't even know about that there's planets which are beyond the planets that we are experiencing right now. And there are particular planets which are specifically made for specific punishments against someone who is doing certain specific activities which is sinful. The activities are divided between pious activities and sinful activities. And there are modes of nature which are goodness, passion, and ignorance. The people who are influenced by the material modes of nature, who are into mode of goodness and mode of passion and ignorance, all of their resultant activities or severity of punishments are according to the modes they are in. For example, if somebody is activated by the material mode of ignorance and they are engaged in impious activities, according to the extent of the ignorance, they are placed in different grade of hellish life. But if somebody acts in mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery will be slightly less severe. And if somebody is in mode of goodness, which means he knows what is pious activity, and if he behaves impiously, then his resultant activity or resultant punishment will be very different or more severe. So we see that one who acts impiously and who knows the distinction between pious and impious is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. So like that, the severity of the punishment is based on the knowledge and the mode in which that particular personality or entity is. So all these hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between three worlds and Garbhodak ocean. That is how Sukdev Goswami has explained, which is Pitraloka. Pitraloka is also located in the same region between Garbhodak and lower planetary system. And so I just want to go through some of these descriptions. So there are many names of these hellish planets. There's Tamasira, Andha Tamasira, Raurava, Maharaurava, Kumbhipaka, Kala Sutra, and many more. In total, somebody is saying that Sukdev Goswami says there are 21, or some says 28. So between 21 and 28 type of planets have existed. Planets where punishments are given. Not one person's hell, whole planet. And the destination of certain people will be in that particular planet. So it says that one who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children, or money is arrested and he's bound with the rope of time and forcibly thrown into a hellish planet called as Tamasira. And there he's chastised by Yamadutas, beaten and rebuked, he's starved and given no water to drink. And thus they suffer and faint and chastised. So now Duryodhana and party, if they know that the result is such that if they appropriate somebody's legitimate wife, they'll be thrown into this, perhaps it would deter them. Then there's a planet, if somebody slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife, he's thrown in another planet called as Andha Tamsira. The miseries are so severe that one becomes blind or andha. Therefore, it's called Andha Tamasira. Then there are situations where somebody has worked very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and body of his wife and children. But while working to maintain in such a for his family and himself, if he commits violence against other living entities, then he's thrown in a planet called as Raurava, where when he suffers the reaction for his envy of other creatures in this planet called as Raurava. Similarly, if somebody is envious and commits violence against many living entities, after his death, he is taken to a hell where there are animals called as rurus, and they inflict severe pain upon the living entity. So learned scholars call this hell as Raurava. Ruru is an animal which is not seen on this planet. So Dev Goswami says that he's more envious than the snake. More envious than the snake. So envy and greed, these two things are the mother and father of Kali. Envy and greed. So what is the difference between envy and greed? Greed is something that I want to have more than the other person. This person has more, I want to have more than that person. And I want to have more than what I have already. That's greed. But envy is so dangerous because greed, at least person is satisfied by trying to have more. And he's wanting to have more. But envy is that not only I want to have more than you, but you should lose what you have. Like Ravana, he wanted Lord Ram to lose Mother Sita, and I wanted to have Sita for himself. So this enviousness is actually so dangerous, so dangerous. And snake is the most envious living entity on planet Earth. But beyond that is Ruru. And there's this planet Raurava, where he comes and bites. And there's Maharaurava. So I want to skip some of them. I'll read few more though. This is also a very significant one. By the arrangement of Supreme Lord, some of the living beings like bugs and mosquitoes, they suck the blood of human beings. But insignificant creatures are unaware that their bites are painful to human beings. And therefore, however, first-class human beings like Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are developed in consciousness, and therefore they know how painful it is to be killed. A human being endowed with knowledge certainly commits sin if he kills. So Supreme Lord punishes such a man by putting him into the hell known as Andhakupa, where he is attacked by the birds, the beasts, the reptiles, the mosquitoes, lice, worms, flies, all kinds of these animals. And this is called Andhakupa. The suffering is severe, severe suffering. So like that, we see there's so much of suffering in the hellish planets. Then there is this one, which is particularly for Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas. If they go out to hunt the animals, dogs, mules, asses, they are placed in the hell called as Prana Rodha, where Yamaraj makes them target and pierce them with arrows. So people, if they think that they are not seen, their activities are not seen by killing innocent animals, they will be severely punished. Then if a foolish member of the thrice born, which is Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, okay, this one I'll leave. I'm trying to find the one which I was reading about the Kshatriyas. Okay, I can't locate it, but the statement that Sukdev Goswami mentions is that if the Kshatriya is not fighting, then he will be punished because he's not doing his occupational duty, and punishments are severe. So we see that how Krishna is trying to save Arjuna from hellish planets. These hellish planets are not some kind of scare. They're not a scare for human beings. It's a reality. It's a reality. As much as the heavenly planets are reality. We know about Indra. We know about Apsaras. We know about the life in heavenly planets, how the sensual pleasures are beyond our imaginations. And there's no misery actually, which is coming to hellish planets. There are heavenly planets. There are anxieties, But this kind of misery of hunger, thirst, etc. are not there. There's of course birth, death, old age. There is no old age there. There is no disease there. There's birth, there's death. So we can see that how the heavenly planets are so beautiful, so enjoyable. Similarly, there are these hellish planets, and nobody can escape them. Nobody can escape them. With all the witnesses that we have, the directions, 8 directions, the wind, God, the Chandra, the Surya, these are all eyes of the Lord, and the super soul himself sitting in the heart of the living entity. So one cannot escape those who are doing cruelty to animals. They're severely punished, so they cannot escape. Those who are living irreligiously, they will get the punishments. Those who are not able to control their senses and to have the material pleasures, if they're doing adharmic karma, they will all be punished. This is the purport of being sinful. So in this context, I also wanted to quickly touch upon a point of a story in Srimad Bhagavatam. How we all know about this story, but I'll definitely still want to go through bits of this story or pastimes, because it's so important. When Maharaj Chitraketu did not get a child, he was lamenting. At that point in time, Angira Rishi came to the palace and he blessed them. He blessed him to have a boy, Harsha Shoka, who would bring a lot of joy, but also would bring a lot of lamentation to their family. And we know that how all the wives of Maharaj Chitraketu became very envious of one wife who bore the child. And with that enviousness, again, this envy is so powerful because it can lay anybody to act in very, very unworthy manner. So all these wives who are nobody but the mother of the child, they are all mothers of the child. They all planned and killed the child by poisoning the child. At that point in time, Maharaj Chitraketu was completely devastated. And again, Angira Rishi came there with Narad Muni, and they said that, look, you and your wife Kritadyuti had this son, and at that time when I came, I saw that your heart was full of material desires. You wanted to enjoy the child. Therefore, I gave you that benediction. But now you're going through lamentation and misery. And therefore, today, I want to give you knowledge of the soul, because this child who was here was not there before and is not here right now and will not be there in the future. So you are lamenting for a very temporary situation. In that temporary situation, you have created this attachment with the child. And that attachment is now making you cry and lament as if your whole world is finished. So a beautiful dialogue takes place between the two, or the sages, as well as Maharaj Chitraketu and other present queens there. So at that point in time, Narad Muni, this is very wondrous and it's not unheard of, as if these things can happen, but that tells that spiritual soul does exist and it comes in and out of the body. So Narad Muni made this living entity re-enter into the dead body for a very short time. And this child, upon request from Narad Muni, spoke. He started to say philosophy of what Krishna is right now trying to explain Arjun. According to the results of my fruitive activities, I, the living being, transmigrate from one body to another, sometimes going to the species of the demigods, sometimes the species of lower animals, and sometimes the vegetables, and sometimes the human species. Therefore, in which birth were these my mother and father? No one is actually my mother and father. How can I accept these two people as my parents? That's how he spoke to Narad Muni. Narad Muni wanted to enlighten Maharaj Chitraketu, who becomes Vritasura in his next life. But at this point in time, he is Maharaj Chitraketu. And Narad Muni is giving him transcendental knowledge. Why transcendental? Because it is about the body, it is about the soul, not about the body. So he's saying the child continues in this material world, which is like a river, and river is carrying the living entity. You know, there are two particles in the river, they're flowing in the river, they come together and they are separated by the force of water. So he's explaining, the child is explaining, this is what is happening. When we come together, we start saying my father, my mother, my friend, my wife, etc. But after some time, everything is dissolved. It's just kind of transactions. Then he further explains just as gold and other commodities are continuously transferred from one place to another, in due course of time, living entities are also getting transferred from one place to another. So he's giving various examples of how this human life is impermanent. And this impermanency leads to attachment which feels like permanent. And therefore, you are lamenting on that. So he says, even though one living entity becomes connected with another because of a relationship based on bodies, which are perishable, living entity is eternal. Actually, the body that is born or lost, not the living entity. A small child is speaking this. One should not accept that living entity takes birth or dies. Living being actually has no relationship with so-called father and mother. As long as he appears as the son of a certain father, mother, as a result of his past fruitive activities, he has a connection with the body given by that father and mother. Thus, he falsely accepts the sons and acts affectionately. After he dies, relationship is finished. And then he's falsely involved with jubilations and lamentations. Now, this jubilation and lamentation that son of Maharaj Chitraketu is speaking about is for everything. The small things we achieve, we are jubilated, and we lose, we are lamented. Just take example of good mobile phone. We buy, we become very happy. And when we lose it, we are devastated. We are devastated. We want the same phone back in a hand. Even a small matter like that has a havoc in the life of Kali Yuga living entity. What to talk about big things. So this way, he continues to give this knowledge to Maharaj Chitraketu and Kritaduti. And of course, by hearing this knowledge, Kritaduti's co-wives, who was poisoned a child, they became very ashamed of their act, and they lost all their bodily luster. And in due course of time, they lamented so much, and they kind of got purified later on. So this knowledge of the soul is something which is actually very guhyatam, which is quite hidden. It's not out and open, because material energy needs to keep the illusion. Otherwise, how will the living entity feel himself in control? And that is the purpose of the material world, that I am in control. If I am in control, then I will be acting like center, which is where I should be, like Krishna. And hence, this whole illusion is maintained. I want to show a very quick video of play on this Maharaj Chitraketu, maybe 5 minutes. And let me see if I can, I think while sharing, I have to, just a sec, I'll share again. Share sound, yeah. I'll play this for 5 minutes. It's dramatic, but it's very impactful. If children are there in the group right now, they can watch this. How Maharaj Chitketu San is going to speak now to all of us.
Like sweet rice.
Of course. After all, he's born to you after eating that sweet rice.
Aha, there you are. Therefore, you're so sweet. I love you. I love you, my son. My son. My son, Harshashoka. Come, sit. Take. Eat, beta. Eat. Our Rajavaidya was saying, sweet rice is good for growing children. May you have a long, long life, my child.
महाराज चित्रकेतु पधार रहे हैं.
Oh, Harshashok, my child, my life. Kritadviti, I cannot express to you how indebted I am to you. By bearing this special child, you are the cause of deliverance of all my worthy forefathers and myself. Harshashok will be my successor and happily rule this vast planet to fulfill all our desires. Kritadviti, thinking of this, my heart's love for you swells like the high tide of a beautiful Purnima night.
Your words embarrass me, Maharaj.
No, Kritadviti. You have given me something priceless that your 10 million co-wives could not give me.
Damn it! It is getting too much now. How long are we to suffer like this? Since this Harshashok is born, our king has not called us, not even looked at us.
He neglects us as if we do not even exist anymore.
Before this Harshashok came, he would call us, give us affectionate smiles. And now nothing? Why should a woman live without the love of her husband? Maharaj's mouth is not drying, glorifying that Krita Dyuti and enchanting the names of this Harshashok.
Intolerable! My heart burns day and night with anger, frustration, and envy.
I cannot go back to my father's place, and here I cannot get my husband's affection. I think I should consume poison and kill myself.
Why? Why should we consume poison? That sweet rice was cause of Harshashoka's life, and it will be the cause of his.
Why should 10 million souls suffer for one soul?
After all, everything is fair in love and war.
Why has Harshashok not yet gotten up? It is way beyond sunrise now. Why he is sleeping so long today?
Yesterday, he played a lot in the palace gardens and got so tired that he hardly ate anything last night.
He just had sweet rice and slept. I will wake him up.
Call the Rajavaidya!
What has happened?
Maharani, look what has happened to our Rajkumar.
This can't be, Maharani. This can't be. Harshashok. Harshashok. No!
Maharani!
What has happened? What has happened to the prince?
Go! Inform the king immediately!
Yes.
Soon. No. This cannot be. Son, no. How unfortunate. Will I never see his smiling face again? Tell me, will I never hear his sweet voice again? Has my Harshashoka gone? Gone to another planet forever? Maharaj! Look, Maharaj, what has happened?
No, nothing has happened, Kritatuti. Come on, son. You are the apple of my eyes. You are the light of my life. You won't do this to your father. My Harshashok, I'll give you whatever you want. Come on, son. Go and play with your friends. Come on, Harshashok.
How will we live without Harshashok? Harshashok, my darling son, come back. Please come back. Just see, your beloved father is going mad in lamentation. No, you will not come back. Then what kind of a God is he who killed children in the lifetime of their parents? You are neither powerful nor merciful. Indeed, you are cruel. Why should anyone worship you?
Welcome, O great sage. You have certainly come in the hour of our greatest need. Please
just see, Munivar, what cruel fate has done to me. How can the Almighty God do this to me? What a stroke of misfortune that the son is lying lifeless in front of his own father. I do not want to live anymore. I don't want to live anymore.
No, Maharaj. No, Maharaj.
How can we bear this misery? How can we?
Oh, cruel providence! What have you done to us? What have you done to us?
Oh, King. Please come out of this ocean of lamentation. This body is temporary, and so are its relationship. What relationship does this dead body have with you? Did it exist in the past? Does it exist now? And will it continue to exist in the future?
Living entities, like the particles of sand and straw, sometimes come together, but by the forces of time, they are again separated. O great King, you, me, indeed all living entities are in a temporary state. Nothing is false, yet everything is temporary, and hence not worthy of grief.
I could have given you the transcendental knowledge when I came first, but at that time, you were too much hankering for a son. But today, your heart is ready to receive divine knowledge.
O living entity, just see, your mother, your father, and all your relatives are overwhelmed by your untimely death. You may now re-enter this body. Enjoy the remainder of your life in royal opulence. Rise, O child, rise.
According to the results of my karma, I, the living entity, has been transmigrated from one body to another, sometimes into species of demigods, plants, animals, or humans, in which birth with these my mother and fathers, for I have had millions of parents and millions of lifetimes.
Your realized words are like a torchlight illuminating my heart, overcast by dark, dense clouds of ignorance. Thank you for cutting off my shackles of material attachments, O Rishivar.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we saw how this little child got up in his dead body and came about and gave this transcendental knowledge. This transcendental knowledge of soul is not easily obtained. It cannot be obtained. It is immense mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Although if someone is coming from some sort of backgrounds of Vedic backgrounds, may have the ideas of soul, and people just say things like, oh, my past life, my next life. But realizing this, living at the platform of soul is very different. Living at the platform of soul, when we see the lives of Srila Prabhupada, when we see the life of his disciples, we see how they are all living at the platform of soul, and they are doing what the will of the Lord is. They're not doing what the will of material energy is. They're not binded by the objects of the senses for the enjoyment of their own senses, in the material body enjoyment. Because this body enjoyment is nothing but a second side of the coin, which is misery. So one is enjoying or one is miserable. They both are all misery, actually. The kalayam. This is how Prabhupada is explained that why are you bothered about anything else? You're not solving the problem of the body. You're not solving of the life. You are not here to enjoy. You're not solving the problem of birth, old age, death, and disease. Can you not overcome death? Just in this one lifetime, you can overcome death. You can walk out of these bodies and you can live at the platform of soul and be with Krishna, the Supreme Lord, where you belong to. You don't have to take birth and death again and again. At this point, what Arjuna is being explained, that this is a soul. At this particular verse, it's explained that even if you don't believe that you are a soul, even if you believe you're a body, you act at the platform of dharma. At least occupational duty you must do. You shouldn't, because there is no karmic reaction going to come to you, because you will not take birth to take the karmic reaction. So why are you afraid about any karmic reaction or going to the hellish planets or anything like that? Because for you, the death happens and that's it, end of the story. I was working a long time ago as a student, an internship with a Chinese importer, and he was the believer of the fact that there is no birth ever again, and this is the life. This is the life that you live. And there are such many people who believe with 100% conviction that there is no continuity of life, even though they don't want to die, but they believe that contradictorily that they don't exist after this body dies. So such philosophers, even if Arjuna wanted to be like that, even though he is not, he's not, because he's mentioning about sinful reactions which will come to him in the next lives. So being appreciated that he's not a believer of that. He's a believer of Vedantic philosophy. Even though if he wasn't, then there was nothing to lament. And that was the purport of this particular verse today. So we touched upon some aspects of what happens when we get sinful reactions. Why should we not think that there are no witnesses and there are no reactions to our activities? We established that we are being witnessed and we'll have to face the consequences of our activities, whether in whatever platform, whether we are devotees, non-devotees, whoever we are, we got to be acting according to dharma, according to occupational. For that, we should know what is our dharma. And therefore, if we stay at the platform of soul and act at that platform under the signs of what Gita is explaining to us, then we can be saved by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples. Now his grand disciples are here. And in due course of time, we have to eventually get out of this cycle of death, birth, and old age, disease, and birth. So I conclude with that. We also showed a little drama performed by the Radha Gopinath devotees. I was also acting in that as one of the Vajirs, if you noticed. So if there is any comment or there is no time left, or any question, please, we can do that. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, no Prabhu, Dhanva Pranam.
Prabhu ki jai, Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranam. So nice to see you.
Dhanva Pranam. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you.
because of this. Oh, excellent. Oh, thank you very much. Dhanva Pranam. Thank you for your enlightening class. Just like the good old days in Wembley. So, Prabhuji, do I have a quick minute to share my realization a little bit or application?
It will be so
So,
enriching.
subject
Please
to
share.
correction by you. So, subject to correction, Prabhuji, because of my old age, normally I don't participate because of going ear problem. Me, please. But you have really inspired me to contribute a little bit. And subject to correction, as I said. So, with your family is deeply connected with Vrindavan Dham for a long time, from what I understand, from what I remember also. If I remember correctly, the devotee wife comes from a special town in India, Dandodia. Is that correct? Dandodia.
Yes, from north.
Dundodia. It's a very special town, from what I remember, which originated the name as the forefathers from the village used to visit Vrindavan regularly and go on parikramas by literally offering danvat all the way on the parikrama march. So it's a wonderful example of our Bharatiya culture, an example which is true story of Indian culture, which, as you know, His Holiness Bhakti Guru Maharaj was infused by our heritage, and especially by Srila Prabhupada, later on, of course. It infused him to leave Germany, as he was originally in Germany, and pursue his spiritual Germany, to pursue his spiritual journey in India, as you know the whole story, which is now being recognized by the whole world for its unique heritage under the guidance of Srila Prabhupada and his brilliant ISKCON, which His Holiness Bhakti Swami always said that we should never leave, always stay in ISKCON. Thank you very much for giving me a minute to share my, appreciation of our culture and heritage, which your family is a unique example also. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for opening up your heart and sharing that.
Bye.
Okay, somebody requested, Krishnangi Mataji, I think somebody requested for quoting the scriptures. I was reading the hellish planet description, Yashwini Sati Mataji. So I've sent the link on the chat for you. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 26.
Hare Krishna, Manu.
Thank you.
Hari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. My obeisances to you.
Thanks to you, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for your lovely class. Just have one question. Prabhuji, as you were saying that Duryodhana and Kauravas, they did such a, like they are atatais and sinfuls, and they have to suffer the hellish planets, right? But then I also heard that, Yudhishthir Maharaj, when he had to go to hell, but then he saw that all the Kauravas are enjoying the heavenly planets. So how does that, like, I was also thinking that Kauravas, they were very sinful, must be in the hell, but then they turn up into the heaven. I had this question.
So my understanding is that because Lord Krishna was present in this battlefield, and because it was a play enacted by Lord Krishna himself, and anybody who leaves body in the presence of Lord Krishna, will be liberated in some sense. So anybody who fell on that ground of Battle of Kurukshetra, therefore must be liberated. I have heard that when Maharaj Yudhishthira, because he lied, he had to pass through a region of hell for a moment. But I have not heard what you just mentioned about Kauravas going to the heavenly planets and enjoying there. So I'm not sure if you can please let me know a scriptural evidence of where you read this. It will be very important for me to also go through that part of Mahabharata or any other scripture. So the overall understanding that I have is that everybody is liberated. Of course, those who are inimical to Krishna, Duryodhana was certainly inimical to Krishna. He never recognized Krishna as God, even after seeing his full form of his when at the time when Krishna came for the peace, he could see, but only he said that he's a mystic person. Try to catch him and put him in the prison, but they couldn't catch Krishna. So definitely inimical, and such by scriptures we understand that such souls will go and merge into Krishna's body like Shishupal did. So I'm not sure, Krishnani Mataji, if I have the knowledge and understanding of what you just mentioned. Maybe you can tell me, and I might get to know if that is the truth.
I have heard in classes. I have not read by myself.
Oh, you heard in classes? Okay. Might be true, Mataji. I'm not aware, so I will read it and I'll perhaps try to find out if they went to the heavenly planets after. Even though they go to heavenly planets or hellish planets, the point is that you are in material world, and the goal of us as devotees, all of us know, you are knowing more than me, is not to be in the material world altogether. So the whole idea of devotional service is to be out of the material world. Going to heavenly planets one time, like Indra, and becoming a insect in the worm the next moment, it's a moment in Brahma's eyes, maybe centuries or years for living entities. So they're going from one planet to another planet. Ultimately, they're having to suffer. So how great are our sannyasis, how great are our acharyas? We cannot even fathom that, because they are beyond this, the powers of Indras and even, such powerful demigods. They're beyond, they have pure love for Krishna, and they are from the Goloka Vrindavan Dham. So how powerful is that? But if we can live that thought and realize that.
As you said, that they were all in a part of Krishna's play, so maybe they were just acting. So then they went to their respective places. So might be that.
I mean, that's one understanding, because in the case of Jai Vijay story, last time we understand that when Krishna wants to fight, these things can happen, because who can fight with Krishna otherwise? So some of those things, but also knowing that Duryodhana was representing Kali, and his annihilation was important for Krishna to remove the burden from earth. And now, so there are two aspects. One is the practical material way of looking things, and one is the spiritual way of looking. The spiritual way of looking is what we were talking about. It was a part of the play of Krishna. And therefore, all of them are definitely liberated, because they are all, Krishna promised Arjuna that because they live in front of me, therefore they are going to gain liberation. So there is no point of committing any sinful activity. So Krishna established that. He mentioned that, so that's true. And the other part is that they were burdened on the planet Earth, and if they continued to be on planet Earth, they would have caused more harm to Dharma. And therefore, Krishna wanted to re-establish Dharma, and hence this war was played out. I mean, it's ironical, if I want to bring another aspect of Mahabharata, where Krishna himself created a situation where his own Yadu family fought with each other and left the planet, because there was nobody on the planet more powerful than Yadus who could perhaps kill them or wipe them off. So that is also Krishna's Leela, that he presented his own families to be killed by the crop of the iron which has hit the lotus feet of Krishna. So from the iron ball which was hidden by the children, and the sage cursed them. not from the lotus feet, from the arrow, but the iron ball. So the point is that from that iron ball, that arrow was made, which was pierced in the lotus feet of Krishna, and the rest of it became crops, and all the Yadu dynasty killed themselves. So these are all esoteric pastimes of the Lord, but as living entity, we have a lot of lessons to learn from these, and if we can focus ourselves on that somehow or the other, day to day, moment to moment, we can live the realization that we are not the bodies and we are the living and soul. When we can live in the present, then our lives will be successful.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Sorry, Mataji, I could not give that answer that you were seeking, but I hope you're satisfied, and I'll try research, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. What she said, I've heard in the class as well, that they went to heavenly planets and Yudhishthira saw them, you know.
Okay.
In some class I heard as well.
Okay, Mataji. No, I'm sure you have heard it. I don't know about it, my ignorance. I'll try to find out and see why that happened. I'll try to cover that in some class. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning Krishnangi Mataji, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
All such senior devotees are here. I seek their blessings. They are putting up their questions. So I seek your blessings, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vanchakal tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo patitanam bhavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Hari Bol.
Very much for enlightening.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class.
Thank you.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu ki jai. Hari Bol.